So we are at the point right now on Photoshop where we have colored our face. We have chopped up each piece into its own layer, and that was done on the previous lesson. You can find that video also on Teams. You should make sure each one of those layers has a specific name, and that you can always kind of click the eyeballs over here to see what's what and double check. I'm just double checking that everything is on its separate layer. And you may notice I've already replaced the eyes and mouth on top of the face. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create a video out of this. Right now it's just a picture with layers. We're going to convert it to a video. So on the very top menu on the screen, we're going to go to Window, and we're going to go down this alphabetical list to Timeline. When the timeline option opens, it should open up as a large gray box at the bottom of the screen. If you go right to like the edge of that box, you can make it bigger or smaller. My recommendation is probably that you need it a little bit bigger rather than smaller. In the center of that box, it says Create Video Timeline. And I'm going to press that. When I create a video timeline, you're going to see all of a sudden a bunch of purple bars. These purple bars represent time. Okay? This is the length of your movie, and by default, when you open up a project, it generally just makes everything 5 seconds long. That for us is good because the longer you make this, the bigger the file is, takes up more memory, so 5 seconds is perfectly fine. It's a lot of time for our purposes. To the left of these purple bars, you could see the stacks over here. These are your layers, and you'll notice they are labeled just like your other layers are labeled. They are the same thing. In fact, if you click over here and select a layer, it clicks over here, and vice versa. If you want to reorder a layer, like let's just say, for example, the face is wanted all the way on top of this stuff instead of behind, you could drag the face up, and then you'll see the face is now at the top layer, and vice versa. What I think you should do is you should go to your layer window, and what you should do is you should take all of your eyes and you should put them on the top. And the very top layer should be the regular eyes. Underneath that, you should have the mouths. You should have 3 of them. And at the very bottom of this, in front of that background, should be the face. So go ahead and reorder your layers, but it does not really mean anything other than it's a good way to stay organized. I'm going to keep my eye layers on the top, my mouths on the bottom, and I'm going to start with my eyes. Above these layers over here, you'll see some options. One of them is like play controls, like that little triangle. That's the play button. It's pretty universal. When I play that, you'll see the playhead play through my movie. That's the playhead right there. That red line tells you where in time you are. That blue triangle up here is the top of the playhead. If I click on that, I can drag the playhead through the film manually. And this exercise that I'm doing over here is called scrubbing. So when I say scrub through your video and find an area to make a cut, this is how you scrub. You can see right over here, this 100, that's 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. In between, there's a 15F. That means 15 frames. This video operates on 30 little pictures flashing before your eyes every second. Right now, when I play the video, nothing happens because I haven't animated anything yet, but that's how it's playing. Now, mattering on how much available memory your computer has, you might notice, hey, Mr. B, when I hit play on this thing, it doesn't play smoothly. It stops sometimes and starts, and it's like a little herky-jerky, or it's slow. It doesn't seem like 5 seconds, it seems like 10 seconds. That's a memory issue on the computer. Trust me, when we're done animating this thing and we export it out as a video, it will be smooth and fluid and 5 seconds long. First thing we're going to do is we're going to animate the eyes. I'm going to scrub through my video and decide when I want to make my eyes blink. They can blink anytime I want. At 1 second, at 2 1/4, at 2 1/2, wherever. But I want to make sure that I'm on my regular eye layer. That's the top layer here. it's highlighted, and I have my playhead where I want it to blink. I don't want to make it blink at the very, very beginning or the very, very end, at least now for the first thing that we're doing. Right now, I'm going to make a cut. You may have heard in video editing about cutting video. There's a scissor here. When I click that scissor, it's going to split that layer where the playhead was. That's where I made the cut. You're going to have now two layers, regular eyes and regular eye copy. When I scrub through, you're not going to notice any difference because when one ends, its identical twin starts up again. What I'm going to do is, now I'm going to go right where I made that cut, and I'm going to mouse over that cut. And what you might be able to see right now is when I mouse over it, my arrow changes to something that looks kind of like a bow and arrow. It's a little bracket with an arrow in it, and that is the trim tool. And when I click on the edge of a cut and I drag, I can sort of trim down this layer. If you've noticed, all of a sudden those eyes disappeared. And now when I play through this thing or scrub through, there's the eyes, they disappear and they reappear. Now, I made a big gap over here. The larger the gap, the longer time is. If I made that gap smaller, the quicker time is. So I'll play it again. There it is. About 2 seconds, eyes disappear for a second. Almost looks like she blinks right there. And if you haven't guessed right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that in this gap, the blink appears. So realize that every time we cut, we make a new layer. So I don't want to cut up the blink right now. I can and just delete things, but a lot of layers start popping up, and early on that might get confusing. So the only thing I'm cutting right now are the regular eyes. For the blink, I'm going to trim the blink to fit in this little shape. Now I don't have to move the playhead, but by moving it, it kind of makes it a little more precise. So now you might see, okay, when I play through, here are the eyes, they disappear, and then for a second they reappear up there. And now what I need to do is take my little blinky eyes, and if you have trouble clicking on them, like I just did, go up to the Move tool and switch from Auto Select and switch that off. And now you can kind of bring them in. And you can use the arrow keys to kind of line them up. We'll take a look what that looks like when I scrub through. And it looks like I lined it up pretty good. I think I might want to kind of make them just one click or two lower and over. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah. So now when I play through this, here it is. She blinks. All right. It's a simple animation. It's how South Park is done, and honestly how anime was done, except they did it by hand with cells. But our brains and our eyes want to kind of fill in the blanks mentally. That's why it looks like to us like she's blinking, even with just two pictures changing. If you want the blink to look longer, you can make that gap bigger and make the wink here bigger. If you want it shorter, you can make it smaller. There she is. Nice long wink at you. And that's how to start animating this thing. I'm going to do it again, just like you are. I want to make her blink again. I'm only going to cut spaces into my regular eyes or the copy. So I'll decide when I want that to happen. I think I want to happen like right here at like 4 seconds. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure I'm selected on this regular eyes copy. It's highlighted and I've selected when. Now I'm going to make a cut again. Again, every time I cut, it makes another layer here for a regular eye copy. That means there'll be a lot of these at some point, and we'll talk about how to deal with them afterwards. But now I'm going to go ahead with my trim tool. I'm going to select just this one. I'm going to trim back some space, a little bit of space, and now I want to put the blink there too. There are a couple ways to do this. I will show you one way. You might later on figure out a better way, but this is a good way to do this. You need a blink here. I have my playhead right at that point when I need that blink. I'm going to go back to my blink layer, okay, right here. It's highlighted. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Control J. We've used Control J before. Control J duplicates a layer. Why is that a good way to do this? Because it duplicates that layer, makes a blink copy. It has it exactly in the same positioning that the earlier one had. And because the playhead was there, it pastes right where the playhead is. The only issue is, like everything else, it is automatically 5 seconds long. So you just have to go to the end of that blink copy and trim it back. Make sure it fits in the space. And then when I play through here, here she is. She gives you a little wink, and she gives a quicker one later on. All right? Ladies and gentlemen, you animated. The first part of this animation is going to be to animate the eyes, and that's how you do it. There are many ways to do it. My recommendation is use your regular eyes and cut holes in them. Use your blink or your look left or your look right and trim them to fit those holes. Duplicate those layers when you need to fill in more. Now I'm going to make sure this is saved. I'm going to show you one last little thing. I got a lot of layers here. Could get a little confusing. When I do the mouth, I'm doing the mouth second because I'm going to make the mouth open and close a lot more, and there'll be a lot more layers. It'll get confusing. One way to keep things organized after you've done this is take your regular eyes, click on one of them, and just merge it up with the next one. And merge this down with that one. It did not truly merge them. What it did is it put all of those layers in a little folder up here called Video Group 1. And I'm going to call that video group Reg Eyes. So if I have to come back at some other time, I've got all my Reg Eyes up there, and I can minimize that group and keep everything nice and clean on my timeline. Same thing with the blink. You could conceivably just put that blink right up here. I don't love that because when you make mistakes, it's hard for me to kind of figure out where to fix them. So I'm just going to group these blinks together. And they're going to be automatically put into a folder called Video Group. I'm going to name that Video Group Blink so that I have all of that stuff nice and handy. And now I'll save it again and I'll play my video. The previous video showed you how to chop up all the pieces. This video is on how to animate the eyes. Our next video tomorrow is going to be how to add sound and make the mouth look like it's talking. Thank you so much for your time.